My name is Greg Bogosian, and I love everything about New England. Each week, I travel the region with my film crew searching for adventure. And along the way, I visit the places and the people that make New England extraordinary. This is New England like you've never seen it before. This is the New England Traveler. Hi, I'm Greg Bogosian, and this is the New England Traveler. We're here in Boston, Massachusetts at the New England Aquarium. Now let's go inside for a unique, interactive experience. Sometimes you're given an opportunity that you just can't pass up. Today was one of those days. Aquarium director Tony Lacasse invited me where few ever get to go. I got to join the penguin team in the water with the penguins for an up-close and personal look at these super cool birds. After I struggled into the wetsuit, I climbed into the habitat. Penguins love the cold water. Me, not so much, my friends.
Our penguin exhibit is split into 3 sections. We have our larger middle section is for our African penguins. Then we also have a section for the little blue penguins and the southern rockhoppers. We get our water from the Boston Harbor and we will pump it in, filter and clean it, and for our exhibit we do not adjust the temperatures. The water is probably 55 to 58 degrees, so it's a little chilly. Every morning at 9 o'clock we get in and feed our 85 penguins. We hand feed each penguin, keeping track of how many fish each penguin ate and getting a good look at every bird to make sure everyone looks okay and is doing okay. Penguins are only found in the southern hemisphere, so other than traveling south of the equator, you would never be able to see penguins in the wild. A lot of people recognize that penguins and puffins, who are only found in the northern hemisphere, share a lot of similar characteristics. They both live in the water, they're both black and white. The main difference is penguins live in the southern hemisphere, puffins live in the northern hemisphere, the southern rockhoppers. They're the ones who have the yellow crest feathers sticking out of the sides of their head and orange beaks, so they're pretty colorful compared to most penguin species. For the little blue penguins, they are actually the smallest species of penguin in the world. So they are full grown at about 10 to 12 inches tall and they'll only weigh about 2 to 3 pounds. So a lot of people seeing them at first think they're the baby penguins because they're so tiny, but they are full grown and they are from the coast of Australia and New Zealand. We're working with our African penguins today. They have white stripes behind their eyes and the black stripe across their chest. They also have spot patterns on their chest, which is interesting because no 2 African penguins will have the same spot pattern. So technically, you can look at their spots and tell each penguin apart. African penguins are an endangered species, so we do our best to make sure that here at the aquarium, we are being as responsible with our penguins as we can be. So we take part in a breeding program. It's called the Species Survival Plan. So we can have a genetically healthy and diverse population. So we never have to take penguins out of the wild anymore because our population is self-sustaining and we will stay healthy and genetically diverse for years to come. Penguins are used to having people in the exhibit all the time. We are in here 365 days for 4 to 5 hours a day. They're curious birds, but they'll only get aggressive with each other if they feel threatened and disputes over territory. So for the most part, they'll just investigate, and if you're not a threat, they'll swim away. To make it easier for us, we do put ID bracelets on each penguin. The bracelets also help us figure out the gender of the penguins, because looking at them, you can't tell a male and a female penguin apart, so we have to do a blood test to figure that out. All of the male penguins wear their bracelets on the left wing, and all the female penguins wear their bracelets on the right wing. You will sometimes see penguins with the same colored bracelet but on different wings. We will give that color pattern to mated pairs, a pair that have been together for years and have been successful in raising a chick. All of our penguins, we give them names today. We met Aowa. Her name stands for the African Eurasian Waterbird Alliance. I think an important part of us here at the aquarium is making sure that the people who are coming in the doors are making a connection to the penguins and then to the oceans around them, and making these connections will hopefully help people take away a message and care about the oceans a little bit more and make the right choices so that we can help preserve the oceans and the penguins and sharks and seals and anything else that needs our help out in the environment.
Let's take care of the oceans, folks. These little guys are counting on us.
She'll give you a big old smooch on the lips. Really? Good girl.
My next stop was a visit with the Atlantic Harbor Seals, where I was greeted by Aaron Weber. A bonus is you can see these animals without even going inside. It's free.
Here she comes.
How long do Atlantic Harbor Seals live?
Normally in the wild, their average age is about 25 years old. Solana is the oldest in here. She's 31 years old. And our oldest seal ever at the aquarium lived to be 41 years old. So, and Lana is very healthy, so we're hoping she lives just as long as that.
These are harbor seals.
Yep. Oh, there she is. Yeah, they're Atlantic harbor seals. So this is their natural habitat. They can range anywhere from Canada down to New York and New Jersey. So this Boston area is definitely a prime spot to see them.
Tell us about the revival of the Atlantic Harbor seal.
Their populations are really abundant right now. That wasn't always the case many years ago. They used to be hunted. Fishermen saw them as competition because they're obviously very incredibly intelligent animals. They can get in the way of traps, steal bait, all sorts of stuff like that. Many years ago, it was pretty rare to see a harbor seal. Luckily, in the 70s, that stopped. The Marine Mammal Protection Act not only helped revive these populations, but really a lot of marine mammal populations across the world. And being able to see these guys now pretty much on a regular basis is a really cool thing, especially in this area. You can be out on a boat, out at the beach, and be able to see seals in the water, even up on rocks and beaches, all throughout the summer, really all throughout the year.
How long can they stay underwater, and do they ever sleep?
These guys can hold their breath for a little over a half hour. It's pretty common to see them here down at the bottom of the exhibit. Some of them even sleep on their back. And that freaks people out, as you can imagine, if you see a seal down there not moving for a half hour. Our fur seals can hold their breath for about 7 minutes, which still, compared to us, is impressive, but the half hour sort of blows all that out of the water. So if you want to take your right hand and wave really big at her, she'll wave back.
Wait, really big?
Yep.
Okay.
Good job. You can be polite. Yeah. So every time I say the word good, that's a bridge for them, and that's what marks and lets them know that they did something correct and they're going to get reinforcement. So she does that little head thing after every bridge. So these guys are in a group known as earless seals or true seals. And they're called that because these are their ears right here. So obviously you can see them up close. When they're swimming around in the exhibit, it's a little more difficult to see those, so they sort of got tagged that nickname, earless seal. These guys all have really sharp teeth as well. You can see as I'm feeding her that she swallows all of her fish whole. She sort of moves it around a little and then swallows it down. So they don't have molars like we do. They just have all pretty sharp teeth that they would use for actually grabbing the fish in the water. What do you think about getting that seal kiss we were talking about?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so what are we thinking, the cheek or the lips?
It doesn't matter. You know what? I'm just going for the lips.
All right, I like it. You gotta commit to it.
At this point, I'm all in.
All right, so if you want to lean right in, she'll give you a big old smooch on the lips.
Really?
Kiss. Good girl. Luckily, she doesn't eat squid, so it wasn't too gross for you. Just some fish here. Now, how do you feel about touching fish? You good with touching fish? All right. So I'll give you. She's eating capelin and herring right now. So if you want to just hold the capelin right out, she'll take it right from you.
Okay.
So they pretty much eat. Yep.
Just hold it out?
Yep. Perfect. So the way that Lana knows how to paint is by holding this square in her mouth, and that has a paintbrush on it. Good girl, Lon. So seals can't see the colors. They see in shades of gray. The placement of the different colors is, or the choice of the different colors rather, is more up to us. Paint. Good girl, Lon. Each seal has their own style of this. Be able to show off their artistic side, and we.
Erin, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming by. It was nice meeting you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Say goodbye, Lana.
Whenever you're seeing those younger guys playing, that's called jousting, and it's something that you see a lot.
Maybe the coolest animals at the aquarium are the northern fur seals. These guys and girls are not only cute, they're incredibly smart animals, but they also take their playtime very seriously.
Here at the New England Aquarium, we have 6 northern fur seals. We work really hard to make sure that our animals are very comfortable, not only with us, but with other people. We're around them all the time throughout the day. However, it'd be very dangerous for a person to approach a wild animal. Then it's actually illegal to approach any marine mammal. We want to make sure that there's always a healthy respect, and that's what we do here. We have a training program to build a relationship with our animals based on trust. Northern fur seals were hunted for their fur, and up until the 80s it was legal to commercially hunt them. Northern fur seals right now are listed as vulnerable. There's not a ton left. In the last 20 years or so, their numbers went from about 1 million down to around 600,000. So once a ban was put on commercial hunting, we did think that their numbers would come back up and they would bounce back, but unfortunately we haven't seen that yet, and they are still listed as a vulnerable species, so they are not endangered yet. The number of births each year is just not very high, and a lot of different things are affecting them. Global climate change, that could be affecting the ocean currents that fish follow, and it's getting harder for them to find food. They are the second hairiest animals on the planet. They have about 300,000 hairs per square inch. Whenever fur seals are born, they're about the size of a baby. They're about 8 pounds or so. The females grow to be a little bit smaller than the males. They get up to about between 90 and 120 pounds full grown. But the guys, they're pretty impressive. Full grown, they can get up to about 600 pounds during the breeding season in the summertime. Their weight does fluctuate a little bit throughout the year, but on average, they're between 400 and 600 pounds. Each animal is different whenever it comes to training. They can learn, a ton of different cues and know lots of different behaviors. It's interesting to see how quickly some of them catch on too. So one behavior may take, a couple of weeks to train, while some other ones that are a little bit more complex may take years. Isaac is a really interesting fella. Right now he's about 350 pounds, but in the summertime he can get up to about 550 or so. He is our largest male in this exhibit. He's the only full-grown adult male. He's 13 years old. He has sired 2 pups here at the New England Aquarium. Being the only full-grown male here, he definitely kind of has his own space. The other seals kind of leave him be. This time of year, he's definitely sleeping a lot, so it's really great for the public to be able to see him all dry and fuzzy. You really get to see why they're called fur seals. Whenever you're seeing those younger guys playing, that's called jousting, and it's something that you see a lot with especially the younger animals, and it's just playtime. So jousting is something that happens naturally. It is playing, and it's really cool to see because the younger guys are actually practicing for whenever they become big male adults, and it'll definitely turn into more of a territorial display whenever they're older, but right now it's definitely just those 2 guys having a lot of fun with each other. And it just goes back and forth, and it can last hours, and then they get tuckered out and usually take naps. So we want to make sure that we can do all we can to take care of our blue planet and take care of not only the fur seals, but us and future generations, and that is a big part of the aquarium and our mission to live blue.
The centerpiece of the aquarium is the giant 200,000-gallon ocean tank. It's impossible to miss. They recently renovated the entire exhibit for a more exciting visitor experience.
Our giant ocean tank is the largest exhibit that we have here at the New England Aquarium. It's a 200,000-gallon exhibit. All of the water comes directly from the harbor, and then it's warmed to 80 degrees. The tank's 23 feet deep and 40 feet across. We have about 120 different species in the exhibit and about 1,600 animals in there. Diving in this tank is my favorite thing that I get to do 5 days out of the week. We do 5 dives a day. The majority of our dives are feeding dives. That's my favorite part of my job, is getting in to feed these different animals. The fish definitely know when food's in there. They'll see the second you kind of get in the water and you have some type of feeding bag or bucket, they're all over you and very interested. Most of the items that we feed to our fish here are a variety of small fish. Shrimp and clams seem to be the most popular food item. Food prep in the morning takes about 2 hours to maintain this exhibit. The reef is artificial. A lot of people tend to think it's real. It looks really real. The fish look, act, and think it's real, but it is made of fiberglass. We have different animals that like different depths and different areas of the tank. We have a couple big groupers that like the bottom, some moray eels that like to hide within the reef, a lot of small fish that are really territorial, so they'll have their little spots around the reef. And then we also have a lot of schooling animals that will swim kind of and constantly be making laps around the reef. We also have our animals that like the very top, so we've got our barracudas along with our needlefish. Myrtle's one of our star animals in the exhibit. She has been here with us since 1970, which was a year after the aquarium opened. She's somewhere between 80 and 85 years old. Sea turtles, once they're an adult, it's really hard to tell how old they are. She also had her 6-month checkup and she weighed in at 547.5 pounds. Last year, we started one of the biggest projects that was renovating the giant ocean tank. We had to drain all the water and remove all of the animals down to our penguin tray, and then our penguins got moved off-site to our holding facility in Quincy, and then this exhibit was completely drained. The majority of the reef was redone, so we pulled out a lot of the old reef, replaced it with a brand new reef, so it's much more colorful, it's a lot bigger. And then we also were able to improve the windows, so we replaced all the glass windows with their frames with acrylic, so it gives better viewing for the public into the exhibit. And they also replaced the entire wall around the top of the giant ocean tank. It used to be concrete, and now it's all acrylic, so people have 360-degree viewing into the exhibit.
It's been a long road for the sea turtle program here. It started back in 1967.
This is the New England Aquarium Sea Turtle Hospital located just south of Boston. We're about to get a behind-the-scenes look at an endangered species in a building that is not open to the public. In a separate location in Quincy, Massachusetts, the sea turtles I met are cared for by a dedicated team of people whose job is to get them healthy enough to release back into the wild.
It's been a long road for the sea turtle program here. It started back in 1967 when they were building the aquarium. This time of year is sea turtle season. It seems to be an annual phenomenon where, as the temperatures get colder, the sea turtles that don't go south end up stranding on the beaches of Cape Cod. And we have a hospital full of endangered and threatened sea turtles. One of the ailments that takes the longest to cure in these turtles is pneumonia, and a lot of them have pneumonia. An average stay might be about 3 months, but those severe cases could be here for 4, 5, 6 months. Right now we have 43 sea turtles here in our hospital, and we have 3 different species. We have loggerhead sea turtles, we have Kemp's Ridley sea turtles, and we have green sea turtles. Turtles are all in their tanks where they stay 24 hours, with the exception of when they come out for treatments and exams. It's a clinical setting, so the turtles will get examined one by one, and each turtle gets a health plan that's catered specifically to the blood values and the X-ray or radiograph results that we find. They're on a plan for how frequently they need to come out for either medication or another blood draw for a recheck. It's a matter of really going through and looking at all the turtles, examining health, and then there's sort of basic care that has to happen in terms of feeding, cleaning, wound care, things like that. These particular turtles that we have in here, most of them are coming up from Mexico, and they'll most likely come up from roughly the Rancho Nuevo area all the way up the Gulf Stream to the Cape Cod area, and sometimes even off of the coast of Canada. So it's pretty far for a turtle that only weighs about a pound when you think of these small little Ridleys navigating all the way from Mexico up here. It used to be that Rancho Nuevo, Mexico was the only nesting beach for the Kemp's Ridley. But there's some work being done to relocate nests, so they're trying to establish another beach in Texas off of Padre Island. But other animals will nest along the coast. For example, the loggerhead, there are a lot of nesting beaches from the lower Carolinas all the way down through Florida. So it depends on the species where they'll nest. Number 84 is a loggerhead sea turtle, and he came in like the others due to hypothermia, so he was cold shocked. But he's doing much better now. He's receiving medical therapy, so he's on antibiotics based on his blood work. He came in with a very unusual lesion. He actually had a chunk missing out of his side, so it included the top shell, which is a carapace, and the bottom shell. So he's got basically a perfect little notch that's missing from his body cavity. But it's perfectly healed. So it's of no harm to him anymore, and the volunteers picked the name Captain Crunch for him. We pick a theme every year, and this year's theme is cereals, or characters from breakfast cereals. The turtle has a very good prognosis to go on and be released back into the wild like the rest of the turtles, so we're pretty happy. The big loggerhead is a really interesting case, and unfortunately only one in 1,000 eggs will hatch and make it from that egg stage to a full breeding adult. So the fact that we have a breeding adult in our facility right now, that's the most important turtle in this facility because they've already overcome those obstacles that can wipe out these smaller turtles. They're all important here, but that's the most important because she's already of breeding age. And the goal is to return them all back to the wild. It's very important. These are critically endangered species, and some of the species have survived for over 50 million years. So none of the sea turtle populations are doing very well right now at all. And that's rather scary. There could be an elimination of some turtle species within the next decade or couple decades. And so every animal that can get back into the population to perhaps reproduce is very important. It will directly contribute to the survival of the species, and that's critical, and that's why we do what we do.
Hey, thanks for joining me at the New England Aquarium and the Sea Turtle Hospital. I'm Greg Bogosian. I'll see you next time on the New England Traveler.